Welcome back, everybody, to the Cleveland Guardians franchise here on MLB The Show 22. Today's episode is one that I've been looking forward to since we started this series, our very first off-season. This is going to be a really fun one, so get comfortable, get your popcorn, get your snacks, because it's going to be fun. We went 74-88 here in year number one. We were stuck towards the middle of the standings pretty much all season before falling apart in September, putting the nail in the coffin of our already very slim playoff chances. At the conclusion of the offseason, we will have a spring training live stream, which will be up on the channel likely on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. I'll give more details within the coming days on the community tab, so make sure to keep your eyes open for that. So, of course, as I said, this team was really towards the middle pretty much all season, and I'm excited to improve us for not just the long term, but also the short term today. The goal is to get better for Season 2, but also keep a long-term outlook and make good and solid moves for the future. We have plenty of money to spend today, and I'm not going to cheap out like the real Cleveland Guardians ownership, but on the flip side, I'm going to be very smart on how I use my money. We're not going to be handing out triple-figure contracts today because we're just not in a position to do that. So as we start the offseason, we open up with retirements. We have one player from our organization calling it a career, and that'll be relief pitching prospect Jake Miednik, who was never really going to have a shot of making the big league, so that's not a big loss. There would be a couple Hall of Famers in this class, Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols, both of whom are very well deserving. So Miggy and Pujols will enter Cooperstown for this year's Hall of Fame class. As we look at our exclusive free agents, there is nobody here. Everybody on our roster is under team control, which is good. We don't have any players we have to pay. We do have some open spots on our staff, and even though we've got some good coaches in our organization, I decided to clean house. Everybody here is going to be fired. I don't think all of those guys are bad, but I want my own staff to come in here and lead this program. So that's what we did. We completely revamped the coaching staff. Our new Major League Manager will be Giovanni Cabrera. The other guy I'm really excited about is our hitting coach, Pete Woodworth. He's really young. I think he's only like 32 or 33 years old. So he's a guy who I think we could groom into a very good manager in the future. Our third base coach is named Cleveland, so that's fitting. Overall, I really like our new staff. I think I was able to get a lot of guys who are going to be good for this team going forward. So now we get to the juicy stuff of the offseason, including free agency. We're going to get through like the arbitration and the tendering contracts first before we talk about free agency. So for arbitration, we kept it pretty simple. We offered almost everybody here for the most part, except for a couple guys with Luke Maile and Anthony Gose. I don't see a future for either of them on our team, so we're going to let them go. But everybody else here would receive arbitration. For tendering contracts, again, keeping it simple. These are for the guys in our organization who have less than 3 years of MLB service, so practically everybody. Pretty much everybody who is on our Major League team or is a somewhat relevant prospect whom I do like, they ended up getting a new deal. There were a couple of guys who I ended up letting go who I didn't feel like paying, but for the most part, we were able to sign everybody here to pretty cheap deals. There are more players here at the bottom who we didn't offer deals to, but again, nothing crazy. We didn't make any outlandish moves here by not letting anyone really good go. So we have one more thing before free agency, and that is finalizing the 40-man roster. We currently have 40 guys on, so I am going to take some guys off, and I do want to put some players on who I want to make sure we protect for the Rule 5 draft. So we took 4 prospects who were pretty meh off the 40-man, and they will be replaced by a couple of pitchers. Oinks Quackenbush and Gavin Williams were both Rule 5 eligible. I don't want to let either of them go, so we're going to put them on the 40-man roster, which means they'll get to play with us in spring training and whatnot. So now that we've figured out the 40-man situation, we've gone through arbitration, we've gone through tendering contracts, that means it's time to talk about free agency. We only have $36 million in the books. That doesn't account for our arbitration or tendered contracts, so that's going to be not as much money as we can spend, but we've still got plenty of dollars to use here, and this is a pretty talented free agency class. But again, as I said, I want to be smart and calculated with how I spend money. We're not going to be offering triple-figure contracts today because we're just not in a position to do that. So there were a few specific goals I had for us this offseason, one of which was to get a 5th starter, preferably a lefty. A name who instantly caught my attention was Sean Manaea, who had a great season last year for Oakland. But problem is, he wants too much money. You have to keep in mind, we're going to have to pay Bieber soon. We're going to have to pay Savale soon. Tristan McKenzie eventually is going to want money. So I don't think offering Manaea an $80 million deal is all that smart. I think we can get someone cheaper on the trade market. So I also wanted to add some bullpen help. A name who I really like is Jose Alvarez from the San Francisco Giants. He's not a flashy name, but he's been so consistent. He had an ERA barely above 1 this past season, and if you look at his career as a whole, he's rarely had an ERA above 4. The only time he has was as a rookie in 2013. That was 10 years ago. This guy is the model of consistency and will be perfect in the middle of our bullpen. Plus, he's a lefty, and again, I do want to add more lefty arms. So we're going to give him a 1-year deal for $3 million, try to pry him away from San Francisco. I wanted to add some pop in the lineup because other than Marte, Ramirez, and Franmil Reyes, we don't have a lot of that. So I wanted to go after Josh Bell. If you've been around the channel for a while, you may know that we have some history with Josh Bell. We, of course, had him in our Pirates franchise in MLB The Show 20, and he was really, really good. He ended up winning multiple MVPs. He has arguably the greatest play in channel history. He's a stud. He was very good last year for the Washington Nationals with an OPS at 863. His potential went up to a B. He's a good player, and I think he would fit in the middle of our lineup at first base. So we're going to offer him a 2-year deal for $16 million with a player and team option, which gives both Bell and us as an organization some flexibility for next season. I think he's a guy who could be really good for us, and if we do struggle next year, he could always be a player we look to move at the trade deadline. I wanted to add another Major League catcher with Victor Caratini, so we're going to go after Omar Narvaez, a player who I've always liked. He doesn't hit lefties well, but he's very good against righties, so I think Narvaez probably will start against righties next season, and Caratini, who's a switch hitter and can hit both sides of the plate pretty well, will start against lefties. Narvaez will get a 1-year deal for just under $5 million. So Bell, Narvaez, and Alvarez are the big free agents we're going to go after. We're also going to try to sign some okay prospects as well. I didn't want to sign any really good prospects. I thought that was kind of cheesy. But we are going to go after some B potential players who could be solid additions to the organization. So now it's time to simulate, see if we can get our guys, and see if everybody around the major leagues decides to be bold and goes out and makes some big moves here in free agency. So instantly, right off the bat, we would get a big splash. The St. Louis Cardinals would sign ace Aaron Nola to a 6-year deal for $150 million. That's a lot of money, but Nola is a really good player. Unfortunately, we are out of room to sign anybody on our roster. Everybody who we offered a contract to accepted, other than Josh Bell so far. Bell is not signed anywhere, but if we do want to sign him, we're going to have to clear up some space in our organization. So we're going to trade some prospects away. This is a 3-for-1 deal, trading 3 D potential prospects for 1 C from the Seattle Mariners and 20-year-old reliever Cal Coronado. He looks fine, nothing spectacular. He is a lefty, though, and again, I do want to add some more lefty arms, and then from there, we would offer Josh Bell the same contract that we had originally. Joey Gallo signs a 5-year deal with Detroit, so he is now in our division. That's a little bit worrisome, I guess. I don't really look forward to pitching against him. Mike Clevenger, former member of our organization, signs with the Red Sox on a 1-year deal for $14 million. I'm surprised that's all he got. Max Muncy to the Rangers, 3 years, $41 million. He's going to pair up with his former Dodger teammate, Corey Seager. Nathan Eovaldi signs with the Milwaukee Brewers, 3 years, $49 million. So the Brewers are going to just try to win every game 2-1. No offense and a lot of pitching. We get offered a trade here from the White Sox, Joe Kelly for Brian Coronado. Kelly is cool. He's the guy who made fun of the Astros a couple years ago, but this trade doesn't really make a lot of sense. Coronado is one of the pitching prospects we just signed. And then look at this. Clayton Kershaw, 1 year, $26 from the Padres. So Kershaw staying in the NL West. He's staying in Southern California, but he's joining the rival. Interesting. We're now in the month of December. Nothing has changed with Josh Bell. We are going to make another trade here. I wanted to add another talented bullpen arm, so we're going to trade a few prospects, including a B potential reliever in Kirk McCarty, to the Dodgers for Alex Vesia. Vesia is a 26-year-old lefty who had a really perfect season last year. He did not allow any runs. He was very good in 2021 as well. He's nothing spectacular, but he'll be able to compete for a spot in our Major League bullpen. So we've made a lot of additions to the bullpen, but we're not done. we've got a deal here with the Giants in which we will acquire 25-year-old reliever Camilo Doval. I've been eyeing up Doval since last season, and I'm excited to add him to the squad. He's been pretty productive in his 2 years so far with San Francisco, and I think he's got a real shot to be our number 2 reliever behind Emmanuel Clase if James Karinchak doesn't develop. And if Karinchak does, then Doval is going to be a great number 3. So we're going to give them a couple talented major leaguers away, including Trevor Stephan, who was fine last year. Stephan is not as good as Doval, but it's not a major downgrade for the Giants. The main reason why San Francisco is making this trade is for Yu Chang. I get that Chang isn't all that good, but he is a versatile infielder. He has B potential, and it just hasn't worked out in Cleveland, and I think the Giants see some upside with him, which is why they're interested. We also made a swap at third base. The Giants really value versatility, so I think they'll like David Fry, who can play the corner infield, the corner outfield, and catcher. And we'll be acquiring Gabriel Rodriguez, who I believe was in our organization last year. He was traded to the Giants as part of the Austin Hedges, Elliot Ramos swap. So we're going to bring back Rodriguez. I never really wanted to trade him away, so he gets to return along with Camilo Doval. So we've added Doval, Alex Vesia, and Jose Alvarez. I think it's fair to say the bullpen is going to look a lot better than it did a year ago. I really focus on building strong bullpens, and we have one of the best bullpens in baseball right now. After that, we would have another big trade, Freddie Peralta to the Rockies for Irban Marquez, Zach Veen, and Michael Toglia. I don't really know why the Rockies are doing this, but the Rockies make moves that don't make sense. So I guess this is fairly realistic, but I would say the Brewers kind of fleeced them. Josh Bell has officially accepted his 2-year, $16 million contract. He never got offered from anybody else, so Josh Bell is officially a Cleveland Guardian. That'll bring us to the Rule 5 draft now. We would get some more moves trickling in. Chris Bassett signs a 2-year deal with the Houston Astros. So now it's time for the Rule 5 draft. Our 40-man roster is full. I wanted to give us some flexibility, so we took 2 more prospects off, just in case there was anybody I liked here in the Rule 5 draft. We had the 8th overall pick in the Rule 5, and we would have a number of players go off the board. The Royals were the only team ahead of us to skip their pick. So I wanted to find someone who had good upside, but could also contribute at the Major League level right away, and I was enticed by shortstop Ryan Bliss from the Diamondbacks organization. He'll replace Yu Chang as sort of our backup middle infielder, and he'll play behind Andres Jimenez and Ahmed Rosario. I think that's a pretty good move for us. After that, there was nobody I really liked, so we're going to skip all of our remaining picks. Although we did add Ryan Bliss, we lost 4 prospects in this Rule 5 draft, so our farm system did take a little bit of a hit, but we didn't lose anybody overly valuable. Tanner Tully was drafted by the Rockies, Gavin Collins was picked by the Padres, and then in the second round, I think these are our 2 bigger losses, with Richie Palacios going to the Orioles and Bo Naylor going to the Pirates. Palacios and Naylor really didn't progress all that well last year, so it's not the end of the world, but I did like both of them, and it's unfortunate that we had to let them go. So we're going to do some more simulating here. This is sort of the dry spell of the offseason as we get offered Griffin Canning from the Angels. Canning is the type of guy I'm looking for in a number 5 starter, somebody who is talented and has potential, but sort of has a chip on their shoulder. The problem is they're going to want Zane Raleigh from us, who's our best prospect. That just doesn't really make sense. Tim Anderson signs a deal with the Rockies. He's going to be hitting bombs and cores, and he's no longer in our division. However, Kike Hernandez is now in our division as he signs a 5-year deal with the Minnesota Twins for just over $40 million. Wilson Contreras signs with the Red Sox. I believe they lost Christian Vasquez, so here's your Christian Vasquez upgrade. And then here in February, Edwin Diaz signs a big contract with the Arizona Diamondbacks for nearly $60 million. So now here in the month of February, I offered a couple more contracts. I kind of wanted to bring back Carlos Santana. He's sort of the Cleveland legend, so I figured why not. And I also offered Brett Cumberland because we need some more catching depth, and he's a switch hitter, I believe, so I thought that made some sense for us. For the arbitration hearings, the arbitration panel pretty much sided with the players for the most part, which isn't ideal. That means they're going to make more money, but it's not like they're making a lot of money, so it's really not that big of a deal. So there's 2 more weeks up until spring training, but this is the stage of the offseason where I really like to make my trades. Fill out the roster, figure out what we need, and go from there. As I said, we do need a number 5 starter, so I did some searching, and I found a guy who I kind of liked. That player is going to be Adbert Alzolay from the Chicago Cubs. Alzolay is 28 years old. He's a well-rounded starter with 5 pitches. He did not throw a single pitch in a Major League game last year, which suggests to me that the Cubs have kind of given up on him. So I don't really think they value him all that highly. We're going to be trading away 3 prospects, including Alex Young, who's a solid lefty with Major League experience, but nothing special. Catcher Brian Lavastida, and left fielder Oscar Gonzalez. I didn't really want to trade any of these 3 players, but I think it's 100% worth it for Adbert Alzolay, who's going to be a really solid number 5 starter. I thought Carlos Vargas was solid after we traded Zach Plesac at the deadline, but Alzolay is definitely going to be a major upgrade and a player who I like quite a bit. We also offered some more contracts to catching depth because we only have 3 catchers in our organization with trading away Brian Lavastida. So we're going to offer those 3 guys. And that'll bring us to spring training. We have officially concluded the offseason. We didn't do anything crazy, but we made a lot of good moves. We added Josh Bell, we added Adbert Alzolay, and we did a really good job of improving the bullpen. There are a number of players who I considered making trades for, but didn't, so I wouldn't be surprised to see us active in the trade market very early this upcoming season. As I said, there will be a spring training live stream within the coming days, again, likely on Wednesday or Thursday, so make sure to stay tuned for updates on when that's going to be. Hope everybody enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.